We used to think a gene started here and ended here, we're all done. Now we realize there's a gene here, there's a gene inside of a gene, there's a gene next to a gene, there's a gene over here overlapping the other gene, and inside that gene there could be another gene. It's kind of like you take a word like peanut. I used to do this when I was a kid, and you try to get 40 words from the word peanut, and you just move the letters around and you try to get 40 words from those letters. Well, that's what they're doing here. So we have overlapping. And this is a Nobel laureate, Ira Prigogine. I guess I pronounced that correctly. He was I think Pakistani, and he got the Nobel Prize for abiogenesis. And he said, now he's got his prize for working in this area. He said the idea of spontaneous generation of life is in its present form is therefore highly improbable, even to the scale of the billions of years during which prebiotic evolution occurred. So he was an evolutionist. But even he said, you're not going to get spontaneous generation of life. It's not going to occur. And this is an illustration. Scientist, brilliant scientist working in his lab, he says, just think, as soon as I produce life in the test tube, I will disprove that absurd idea that an intelligent being was needed to do it in the beginning. And that is very true. A lot of books on biogenesis, theories of life's origin. None of them have the answer, but they're trying. And now the answer more and more is life originated from outer space. Life from outer space came from somewhere else. And Francis Crick, the guy who discovered DNA, who had the Nobel Prize for DNA, he, Life Itself, The Origin of Nature, wrote this book, and basically he says it must come from outer space. Hoyle, Life Cloud, same thing. Evolution from Space, Sir Frederick Hoyle, and this book again said the same thing. And here's two more books which talk about this. And this was one thrilling find. They thought this was life. They determined this meteorite came from Mars. It was knocked off Mars and ended up on the Earth. And therefore they have written books about this discovery. And I have thick books about this discovery of life from Mars. Well, guess what? They found this was just a peculiar trait in this area. It was not evidence of life. And that now has been determined, and so therefore that false start is now disproved. And Davies, he wrote a book about origin of life, and he said when he started to write this, he thought that science was close to wrapping up the mystery of life's origin. But after he spent 2 years researching his book, he found out that we're farther away from the origin than he assumed. And here's one example. This is the bacterial flagellum, which you have a model over there. And we know now, if you don't have a C ring, it doesn't work. If you don't have an L ring, it doesn't work. If you don't have a hook, it doesn't work. You have to have all of these parts for it to work, and that's called irreducible complexity. All the parts. And that's the same problem with the origin of life. To have life, you have to have all of the billions of parts before you have life. Therefore, it will never spontaneously generate. And that's what Ira, a few slides ago, said.